Wow. I've learned so much through you, and I think that one thing that I've learned the most is that gratitude is key in living the life that one desires. So I just want to express to you that I'm deeply grateful for just the experience of
we
what
want
you've
to turn
given
your
me.
attention to the true essence of what appreciation is. Think about appreciation in the fiscal sense, that it means there's something that is becoming more. So if you can get into that place where there's no resistance within you, law of attraction must cause where you are to appreciate, to become more. That appreciation is the natural order of becoming.
Yes, thank you. So my first question is that you've spoken about rampant appreciation, and I want to hear an example and feel what it feels like and sounds like. I was hoping that you could do a rampant appreciation about me.
No. Well, we've had a few of those today already where we've gotten on something, and we will say to you that you are in a good place for such a thing to happen, because there's not resistance that is in the way of it. So it wouldn't just be bouncing off of you. We also want to say about those rampages of appreciation is that they are the most natural thing and the natural momentum that comes. Jumping in at a manifestation level and just trying to goose things up through words or hype doesn't work. So before you decide to turn on the gas and really focus strongly on something, you want to know really how open you are to the vibration of source. A rampage means a strong focus, and it means at its best a receiving of words. This is the subject of the difference between thinking a thought and receiving a thought. So what we want you to consider is you want your rampages of appreciation to be received, not forced by you. Not words that you're speaking, but received. That's why the rappers, when they really get tuned in, they can really flow. Now, anyone can learn rhyme, and anyone can put rhyme and lyrics to a beat, but we're talking about that getting in touch with who you really are, so that it's naturally flowing from the core of you, where you're finding the words that match the vibration as they come. Because if you try to force it from a place of not being ready, then all you do is amplify the resistance. Where if you allow it from a place of readiness, then you amplify the readiness. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah.
So we've offered rampages of appreciation, and people usually ask for them when they feel they need them. That's the reason that we always play a little bit. We would so much rather that you get into that soft place of meditation where you allow that energy to flow through you, and you let the rampages of alignment and timing be what you're looking for. Because if all we do is offer words, it's not so different from faking it till you make it, or hype. And we've never ever known anyone who faked it till they made it. They just faked it and then 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 faked it until they got exhausted, you see. So what else is on your list?
So much. I want to learn to see others as God sees them, seeing others with love,
Again,
as wholeness.
you see, this isn't a learned thing. This isn't something that you're going to do. This is something that you're going to receive. So when you're in the receiving mode, nothing other than that can happen. And if you're not in the receiving mode, there's not enough teaching that can make the difference. No one can teach somebody who's in a bad mood how to see the world through the eyes of source. And when you are in alignment with source, you can't do otherwise. Isn't that interesting? So we just keep saying meditate.
And you're talking about meditation, but how do you get to that state of receiving through meditation? How do you quiet your mind?
Well, you asked two sort of different questions. How you get to the state of receiving is by quieting your mind. And by quieting your mind, it's by finding something else to think about. When we choose you to come forward, we get Esther really interested in the microphone. You may have noticed she really looks it over on your way up. And there's not one interesting thing about this microphone, but we like her to be fascinated by it because it keeps her mind in a quieted place. You see, because you're all thinking things about it. Some of you are really irritated that we keep pointing over there and not over there. There are lots of thoughts around, so we just keep Esther focused on, and it's the same sort of thing. It's like knowing what you're not going to think about by knowing what you are going to think about. So you could meditate by looking at this microphone. Hard to think about other things, isn't it? It's going to be an interesting audio recording. Find something to focus on, and the things that you have been focusing on because of lack of attention to them will stop being active. And when the things you have been focusing upon, especially anything that's resistant in nature, when it's no longer active, then your dominant vibration will become dominant within you, and then the ideas will begin to flow and the momentum will grow.
You've answered so many of things that have been on my heart and mind.
What do you think you're ready for now? It could be that we don't all have to go back over here. What are you ready for? Let's have a conversation about what you're ready for.
I like that. I really like that. I'm ready to really raise the vibration of where that I am, and I've been very much doing that.
That's the conversation that we've had all day
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Yes?
And there are some things that I'm curious about wanting to do as far as my life.
And when you feel a curiosity, does that feel like any strong readiness? So either use the word that fits,
Okay.
or
All right.
you follow? Because when you're
yeah.
curious about something, you're not really ready for anything robust to come about, either in conversation or in terms of what you rendezvous with.
Okay.
So if we were standing in your physical shoes and we really meant something about something, we wouldn't use the word curious.
Okay.
That sort of sounds like the very beginning, early stages of attraction.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
curious about whether I'd like to have peas or corn.
Okay, so maybe I should just say it without trying to make it sound so great. Is I'm ready to move forward in service of helping people in a way that would involve me having to physically move forward right now. And I have some knee injuries that are preventing me from that. And
Now, do you hear how tricky she was?
uh-oh, I'm going to leave.
You don't have to justify the healing of your knee by going into service. You could say, I'd like my knee to be better so that I can just mess around with more pleasure.
That sounds nice. I like that.
Are you following what we're getting at?
Yes.
These subjects do not need to be intertwined. So do you have two intentions? You'd like your knee to feel better, and you would like to be in a more tangible, obvious experience of being of value to others? What do you think? We're baiting you with this because there's only one right answer. Let's see if you get it. What do you think is the most important component in being of service or value to another? It's timing. If you're going to be of any value to anyone, you've got to catch them when they're in the receptive mode. But more important, you've got to be in the receptive mode. So you don't have to wait until your knee feels better before you're in the receptive mode. And in fact, being in the receptive mode will serve both of those purposes. It will help you to be of value to them, and it will help your knee too.
Right.
Esther was discussing with a friend on the telephone a few weeks ago. He was talking about wanting to find perfect gifts for people. And so they got off on the subject of giving and receiving, or givers and takers, or what receiving really is, or what giving really is. And then because of the nature of their long conversation, we began discussing it with groups following that. And we want to start in this place. Step 1 is you ask. Step 2 is source answers. And step 3 is you've got to be in the receiving mode. So how is it that source answers? In other words, you heard some stories today of different things. The man was receiving letters and different things happened. And we told the story of Esther meeting with her new rapper friend and so forth. So where does the answer come from, and how does the receiver receive the answer? In other words, doesn't it most often come through someone else who is being of service? Step 1 is you ask. Step 2 is source answers. Step 3 is you got to receive. So where does somebody else fit into that? If all you got to do is ask, and source is always going to answer, and you're going to get what you, then does there need to ever be anybody else of service to help you receive what you're asking for? Are you with us on this? If everyone is an extension of source energy, and everyone has access to what source energy is offering, then how would anybody else play into the equation? Well, you play into the equation all day, every day, because sometimes you're in the receiving mode for something that somebody else is asking for. And because you're in the receiving mode, your timing is perfect, so that you rendezvous at the perfect time, so that as they ask and as you receive on their behalf, provided they are in the receiving mode, then you get to be part of the dance. Did you follow that? Ooh. So you can't be of service unless you are in the receiving mode. And when you're in the receiving mode, then your timing is great. So then there's just this give and take all day, every day. You're just dancing with one another as people upon the planet. Some are asking, some are receiving, some aren't in the receiving mode. Others are in the receiving mode that are getting ready to even be more in the receiving mode. In other words, you just can't get it wrong. Can you see how the answer to both of your questions is the same thing? You just got to find some way of stopping any conversation in your own mind that is responsible for the resistance that is keeping you from doing the two things you just said you want to do. Feel better in your knee and be of value to others. Mm-hmm. Because what it sounded like you were saying is, I'll take care of this physical thing first, and once I do that, then I'll be of service to others. Isn't it nice how the universe is giving it all to you at once? All the things you want are all wrapped up in you just getting tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And then everything that you want, your value to others, might even be of service for you to have a knee that hurts and then have a knee that stops hurting.
It's interesting.
Without having to chop your leg off and get a new one.
Yes.